Relegation, the word that football fans never wanna hear or say. Not being good enough to be part of a league and dropping to another division is the most shameful thing that can happen to a club. But I know what you're thinking. Rank, it's the middle of September, most leagues have barely started, how come you are talking about relegation? Well, because in another part of the world, a relegation battle has been brewing more and more chaotic each day. Now, relegation in Argentina is a bit of a complicated mess. First, you have what it's called the Promedios table. Basically, all teams in the first division have their points from the last 3 seasons added up and divided by the amount of games in the top flight they've played throughout those seasons, giving them an average score. For example, a team that just promoted will just have their points divided by the amount of games they played this season. A team like Boca Juniors will add up all the points collected in the last 3 seasons and divided by the amount of games in those 3 seasons. The team that finishes bottom of this table relegates. Pretty complicated stuff, but it gets even weirder. There's also the annual table, which is a table where all points collected across the year are added up, and it's used both to determine qualification to Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana and also to relegate another team, as the team that has collected the least points across the year, if they haven't already gone down by Promedios, will also relegate. And you might be asking yourself, wouldn't it be easier to just use the league table like literally every other league in the world? And yes, you'd be right. But that wouldn't work in Argentina, since the first half of the year we had a normal round-robin league and the second half a cup type of league very similar to MLS. So instead the points from both leagues throughout the entire year are tallied up. Also, for simplicity's sake in this video, we'll start chronologically right after the round-robin league has ended. Now that you know how relegation in Argentina works, let's meet the teams in danger. Arsenal sit at the bottom of both the Promedios table with an average of less of 1, having collected 102 points in 106 games across the last 3 years, and also at the bottom of the annual table with 22 points. With this, the small team from Sarandí is in dire straits, and the relegation at this point is only a matter of time. But with them relegating most likely on Promedios, it opens up another slot in the annual table for another team to relegate. Also, despite being considered a small club, Arsenal still has more international trophies than Arsenal. Before you ask, Colón comes from the Spanish name of explorer Christopher Columbus, which is Cristóbal Colón. It's not Colón. Anyway, the team from Santa Fe sit at 25 points in the annual table. Colón are not as horrible of a team as the rest in this video, and they often punch above their weight, but they are not good at holding on to leads, as we can see from their 13 draws. And with them having lost 5 of their last 6 games, they are now in the last relegation slot. Huracán is one of the most popular clubs in the city of Buenos Aires, but pure management, as they've had 9 different coaches in the last 4 years, sees them now tied with Colón on 25 points. By the way, if a tie in points were to happen between teams in relegation spots, a tie-breaker game would have to be played. Huracán's drop has been so steep that at the start of the year they were playing in Copa Libertadores and now are fighting survival. I've only met one Vélez fan in my life, but apparently they are a pretty big club. Sure, they never fill up their stadium, but they've won Copa Libertadores and beat AC Milan in the Intercontinental Cup in their glory days. But those days are now over, as the team is lingering above their relegation spot with 27 points. Despite having one of the best youth academies in the country with wonder kids like Gianluca Prestiani filling up the ranks, the team has been destroyed from the inside thanks to a board that only cares about money and has given up on making real signings. Vélez have not relegated since the year 1940, having the second most consecutive years in Argentina's top flight, only behind Boca Juniors. Them going down would be a massive shock. Independiente de Avellaneda is one of the most important clubs not only in Argentina but in South America. Holding the record of the most Copa Libertadores wins with 7, the Red Devils are considered one of the big 5 of Argentina. However, managerial disasters have been the name of the game for Independiente for the last decade. They relegated for the first time in their history in 2013, and even though they came back up right away, the board has barely done anything to stop another disaster. The club has an enormous amount of debt, so much in fact, an influencer had to make a crowdfunding campaign to bail out the club. I'm not making this up! With this, the signings of players have been a huge issue for El Rojo, and the pressure that comes with wearing this badge don't make their job any easier. Independiente are just 3 points above the depths of hell, with 28 points. After not featuring in Argentina's top flight since 1972, Central Córdoba made a triumphant return in 2019. Even though they've survived through these few couple of years, they've been pretty mediocre. Now they only have collected 29 points, and there's a real possibility that they will be going back down. Gimnasia y Esgrima La Plata is one of the oldest teams in Argentina, being founded in 1887. However, across its 136 years of history and having participated in the first division 96 times, Gimnasia have only won the league once. In the 1920s, having also been runners-up 6 times, having beaten their main rivals in Estudiantes only once in the last 13 years, and it was also the team coached by Diego Maradona in 2019 until his unexpected death in 2020. I think it's fair to say being a Gimnasia fan is extremely hard, and still their fan base is one of the most loyal you will find. Things do not look good as Gimnasia only have 30 points, and to save some time, Banfield, Unión and Sarmiento all have 30 points as well. Instituto have 32 and Tigre has 34. With that, I've named 11 teams that are 9 points away from each other, with only one relegation slot remaining as Arsenal will most likely relegate in Promedios anyway. So now it's finally time to take a look at what has been going on over the past few weeks. In match day 1 of the League's Cup, we see Independiente lose at home to direct rivals Colón, who moved up to 28 points, now tied with Independiente. Zielinski is promptly sacked as manager and Carlos Tevez is appointed as his replacement. Gimnasia lose at home 3-0 to Talleres and remain on 30 points. Vélez also reached 30 points after a massive 1-0 win over Barraca Central thanks to an own goal. Instituto separate themselves from the scrap by beating Arsenal 1-0 on the road, sinking the Gunners further down in the table. Huracán makes it a 3-way tie on 28 points after beating direct rivals Banfield 2-0. Banfield remain on 30 points. Unión snatch a point against Racing Club and move up to 31. Sarmiento beats Tigre 2-0, keeping El Matador on 34 while the Greens move up to 33 and Central Córdoba suffer a 2-0 defeat against Newell's Old Boys. Matchday 2 sees even more madness as Arsenal win a thriller against Argentinos Juniors 3-2 and keep some hopes to survive. Colón continue their winning ways, beating Gimnasia 2-0. Now Colón has 31 points and Gimnasia keeps sinking, remaining at 30. In their first game with Tevez as coach, Independiente play a huge game against Vélez. Matías Jiménez scores in the 51st minute, but Santiago Castro equalizes for Vélez in the 83rd. However, in the 5th minute of stoppage time, Independiente get a penalty and Jiménez doesn't waste it, giving Independiente 3 massive points that push them to 31, while Vélez remain on 30. Banfield beats Rosario Central 3-0 at home and reach 33 points. Instituto moves up to 36 after drawing 0-0 with Atlético Tucumán. Unión make a comeback against Estudiantes on the road and reach 34 points. Tigre loses 2-1 at home to Racing Club and suddenly their 34 points don't look safe at all. Central Córdoba lose again, this time 1-0 to Godoy Cruz, staying on 29 points. Huracán are the team relegating as it stands as they concede to Talleres in the 88th minute, and with the 2-1 loss they stay on 28 points. Meanwhile, Sarmiento continued their streak against Boca, winning 1-0 at home and going to 36 points. On match day 3, we see a lot of direct clashes for survival, as Independiente continue their honeymoon phase with Tevez and beat Gimnasia 2-1 on the road. Gimnasia remain at 30, while Independiente has jumped to 34. Huracán stays strong at home and beat Colón 2-1. Both teams now tied on 31. Somehow, someway, Vélez revives from the ashes and turned into prime Barcelona, putting up a masterclass against league winners River Plate, beating them 2-0 at home and going up to 33 points. In a wonderful counterattack, Banfield find a 94th minute winner against Instituto, both teams now at 36 points. Arsenal stay at the bottom after losing to Barracas Central. Central Córdoba win a 3-2 brawl against Platense with an 87th minute winner and go up to 32 points. Sarmiento keep their good form and get a draw on the road against Defensa y Justicia, making it 37 now for the Greens. Tigre take advantage of a drunk Boca Juniors and beat them 1-0 in La Bombonera, a massive feat that pushes them to 37 points as well. Meanwhile, Unión get another result against a big team, this time a 1-1 draw with San Lorenzo as they reach 35 points. On match day 4, Vélez, after going God mode for a day, go back to dog mode as they allow Gimnasia to come back 2-1 against them. Both teams now on 33 points. Independiente win yet another direct clash, beating Huracán 1-0. El Rojo sits at 37 points while Huracán only have 31. Sarmiento are finally stopped as they lose 1-0 at home to Central Córdoba, who move up to 35 points while Sarmiento stay on 37. Colón get a massive 2-1 win over Rosario Central and reach 34 points. Banfield lose at home with Argentinos Juniors 1-0 and remain on 36. Tigre get a draw at home versus Estudiantes and get to 38. Instituto also draw 0-0 in their derby against Talleres, which gets them to 37 points. Arsenal lose yet another game, this time 3-1 against River Plate, and Unión draw 1-1 with Newells and get to 36 points. Finally, on match day 5, Independiente drops points under Tevez for the first time, as they draw 1-0 against Rosario Central. In a heart-wrenching affair, Huracán get a huge win over Gimnasia despite being a man down for the entire second half. Sarmiento escape with a goalless draw in their visit to Lanús. Tigre loses 2-0 away to Defensa y Justicia. Unión settles for a 0-0 draw with Godoy Cruz. Central Córdoba suffer a hefty 3-0 defeat against Boca at home. Banfield loses 1-0 with Barracas Central. Instituto makes a comeback against Colón in a direct clash for survival. And Vélez almost throw it all away again, but with a wonderful strike they manage to scrape by Arsenal to get all 3 points. And with all those results, the table looks like this. Arsenal did not get the results they needed, and so their relegation is now only a matter of time. Gimnasia are currently on the relegation slot on 33 points. Huracán and Colón are only 1 point clear with 34. Central Córdoba has 35. Vélez and Banfield got 36. Unión has 37. And Sarmiento, Tigre, Independiente and Platense, who I didn't even get to mention in this video, are on 38. 11 teams with 5 points of difference between them and still 9 matches left to be played. By the time you watch this video, match day 6 may already be underway, so make sure to keep an eye out for the results. I'll make a video once the league is over to recap how this story ended, but for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.